All right, welcome on everybody to C-Ball Get Ball. Brent Rollins joins me as always, and Brent is one of the smartest football guys I know. Period. Works for PFF, Mister Numbers, and Brent, I love it, man, because if today if your fire isn't lit, your wood's wet. Okay, like if you're not getting ready for week one, man, and you're not excited, like. I'm out on you. You probably need to leave the show because it's about as exciting as it gets. Like sitting on the couch this Saturday with Lindsay, I was like, baby doll, like I'm not gonna have another Saturday on the couch with you like this again, and I'm really excited about it. Like I'm so stoked that we will. And I know that's not the right thing to say to my wife, but I'm like, baby doll, I'm gonna have something to watch for the next so many weeks, and I'll be so busy. You don't have to worry about entertaining me.
I would say, what was her response to that? Because
she was excited. I think she was like, "This is great. I'm really good to get rid of you."
I did think of for a second there that you went a little Chris Farley trying to get that right. You know, when he's always telling Tommy Boy when he's telling the
you want to
joke,
stick your head up a butcher's ace.
He finally gets it right in the end. But the part of the game week part of it, this isn't just like a nice game and you get football back. This is legit like college football playoff implications. Who can win the Big 12 big game to start the season?
That's out the gates, big time. And I love that we get Chris Fallica on. We'll get him on a little bit later in the show, just because you know him, like big brain, Mr. Handicapper, thinking about all the if, ands, or buts. Already texted me 30 times about how stupid I am for some of my picks. So looking forward to that. We're going to do a college football versus the new proposed college football 28 versus maybe an old school method. And then we'll talk Michigan and that whole situation that everybody's been talking about, maybe with a little bit different spin than everybody else. But first, QB1 picks, man. Couple schools announcing, and I'm so shocked, Brent. Like I'm blown away. Like not a single one did I look at and I was like, man, that was a big time different pick than I would have. But go through them. Who got the starting nab?
Julian Sayin is obviously the big one at Ohio State. Then you have Aguilar at Tennessee, Angeli at Syracuse. Which, by the way, like that game I think is going to be a fun game to watch in the opening weekend.
Syracuse, Tennessee
as well. Syracuse, Tennessee. But yeah, no surprises, no shocks. The big news of the day was something, I don't know, what was it, like 4 or 5 hours ago, maybe, or sometime this afternoon, when you found out that Quentin Joyner, the running back at Texas Tech who transferred from USC, tears his ACL. Michigan, as Sooner Cowboys points out in the thing, loses the 5-star lineman that was sort of pushing for playing time.
He was absolutely going to play. Like those are two impact players, and I'm not sure when you talk about like a left tackle, coming in and starting week one, it's tough to do. It's hard to do. Yep. But that is somebody that you look at, you go throughout the season, you go, okay, I bet you by week 6, week 7, Michigan has a guy that he was a top 10 guy in all the country, across the country. Everyone wanted him. So two huge losses on teams that are going to be playoff contenders this season. That will be, again, we talk about depth throughout the season, how much it matters.
And Joyner, like a week ago, we looked at players that could, if they have this great season, it might put their team in the playoff. And Joyner was a name that I mentioned. But you look at the guys at Jacoby Williams and Cameron Dickey that are sophomores for them. They're there, and their stats, like on a per attempt basis, missed tackles, forced, things like that, very similar to Taj Brooks's. They just didn't have the volume, obviously. But a lot of times with these injuries, it's all these teams can handle one in a room. Yeah. It's the next one that, the next ankle that gets tweaked, or the next knee that gets hurt, that kind of thing. And that's what ends up being big time.
Especially with running backs. It comes throughout the season with nicks and bruises. You're getting tackled almost every single play. All right, next we're getting to the big story, the story that everybody's been talking about with Michigan and all the stuff. I think this is interesting. Here's what I find interesting, Brent, before I probably take a different angle than everybody else. But, like, over $30 million in fines, that's a lot. Like, that's a lot.
It could get there.
Yes, like that's not. But that's an inordinate amount. That's the most we've heard of. Like, that's a huge hammer that's being levied with a lot of money that can affect them. Sharon Moore, okay, so the joke that was he got suspended for 2 games, game 3 and 4 this year. Now he's suspended for game 1 next year. what the funk are we doing? Like, I can't. Why do we do that? I don't get that. I don't understand. Like, it's almost like, wait a minute. Like, let's see this. Let's make sure we don't do it. This the optics. Like, what are the optics? Like, levy the fine, levy the punishment. If you think they should be punished, punish them. But that was comical. I like almost laughed at that, and then one other part I almost laughed at too.
I wrote joke with like multiple exclamation points, which I know you would be fond of because you're Mr. Exclamation Point. But
Yes,
like
I am.
it's like that was just a joke to me. And the fact that he gets, when you look at it's game 3 and 4 this year and not, Michigan or not the Oklahoma game, that kind of like that's amazing to me.
Hey, did you
no
write down
postseason
joke for
ban.
anything else? Did you write down joke for anything else?
I mean, not really.
Bro, you didn't write down joke when it says a 10-year show cause for Harbaugh?
Oh, for Harbaugh. I mean,
really?
He's
he gone. And by the way, I thought it was even funnier because that's tacked on to the one he already got for. I think he already had 5 years. So and he served one of them. So like he's got a 14-year now run like that.
He handed them a title like that. He's a forever GOAT in Ann Arbor and Michigan man. So like that's that's another joke. That's funny that you say that. But what was funny about it, and look at the whole process of it and sign stealing, and I mean you deal with it at every level of football. It's a thing. But like Connor Stallions, and he was sort of the mastermind of a lot of that and whatnot. But he was actually looking and he tweeted something about, hey, they need to change these systems. And so I like quote tweeted it and put modern day Frank Abagnale Jr. Like if you remember the movie Catch Me If You Can, where he was
movie.
like
that was a great
where he's
movie.
a crook and then he turns out to be the guy that helps him with the checks and all that stuff. Connor Stallions liked my tweet, so he thought he agreed with my maybe the NCAA should just employ him and say, hey, how do you fix all this stuff so we can't steal things?
He's got a big show cause. He's out of the game for a long time too. That was part of it too. Like they're very much trying to keep him away from college football. He's a young cat, man. Like, and if you think he operated any of this, like not with clearance and his coach not knowing, that's not how this stuff works. Like,
I do think the funniest thing though is that they're appealing it. That to me, like one, that's attorneys who are getting more billable hours. I get all that, but still the fact that they just didn't be like, no postseason ban, no vacation of victories, and just some money. They didn't just say, okay, that's hilarious to me. But all of it.
Again, I'm not gonna exacerbate this point by any stretch and do anything that can go off the rails. But like, it's the NCAA. We're not surprised. That's not a shocking thing. We didn't put one thing on here that had to do with the QBs, by the way, that I want to cover because it's the single greatest player that I've ever seen play live, Brent Rollins, is Cam Newton. They retired Cam Newton's jersey at Auburn. And they're going to retire his jersey. Brent, I've covered the game I started covering it at CBS Sports, but I started with ESPN like in 2008, something like actually 2000, somewhere around that region, and then covered it for all those years. I've never seen a better football player. I've never seen a better run when he carried that 2010 team on his back to a championship. Like, I don't think people understand until you see Cam Newton in person. That's not a small dude, man. Like, that dude's 6'5", 260, and you watch him run around LSU guys. Like, how is that possible? Like, and then he runs by people, runs through people. The combination of strength, charisma, like the dude always had fun. Like, you could tell he was always having fun. He was competitive. Like, Cam Newton, he is, and I'll be interested to hear Fallica talk about this because I do want to ask him this. He's the best football player that I've ever seen with my eyes. And when I saw him, and listen, I've seen Johnny and I've seen Tebow. I've seen those guys, and I'm not knocking them. I'm just saying that guy was different. And what he did with that 2010 team was unfreaking believable.
Yep, and carrying them to the title is definitively a factual statement. Like it wasn't like that team was loaded with NFL guys.
I don't think a single offensive player you can remember. Like, no. I mean, Dyer that didn't get tackled, like that was a guy that you possibly remember. Lutzenkirchen at tight end was another guy. The unfortunate accident with him, but like there was not a lot of talent on that roster. And he said, hop on. And Superman came out week in and
Perfect
week out.
offense for him too.
He was unbelievable. Unbelievable offense, unbelievable time. First guy to get to 2,000 passing, 1,000 rushing, like really, changing that landscape. He had 50 tutties. Like the dude was unstoppable. I remember rushing for over 200 yards against LSU back when LSU was like a defensive team that stopped you week in and week out. And then 6 touchdowns in the SEC championship game. And I mean, he was just like, he just picked how about the 24-point comeback against Alabama in the Iron Bowl when you thought they were about to be out of it completely. So, tip of the cap. I mean, I've never seen another one like him, Brent. I haven't. Like, I've never seen another build, make, model. Lenore Sellers has attributes that I would give like Cam Newton, but Cam is much bigger. And
he's 3 inches and 20 pounds still.
I mean, like Cam could have been a defensive end. Cam could have been a running back. Cam could have been an outside linebacker. Like the positions he could have played, it's pretty incredible, man. I mean, just an incredible athlete. I'm not surprised that they're doing that.
So they obviously played in the BCS championship game.
Yep.
Like, so would you rather have the BCS or what the Big Ten, the garbage that the Big Ten is talking about with 28, 24, like a gazillion teams?
Yeah, and we're about to.
Which would you rather have?
So the Big Ten, like the 2018 thing, like so 7 automatic bids for the SEC, 7 for the Big Ten, 5 for the ACC, 5 for the Big 12, 2 for the group at 5, and then 2 at large. Like I read it, Brent, and I get it. I know the money component of it. No part of me wanted it. Like no part of me. The only thing I liked was like, okay, get rid of SEC championship week. Big 10 championship week, Big 12 championship week, ACC championship week, start the playoffs a little bit early. Like I could see that being something that I would like to see done with the future if you're going to expand just for less games and stuff like that. But man, I can't get with it. And I didn't love it when it went to 4. And I'm always that guy that doesn't like to continue to move and change. I'm just not a changing kind of a guy. But 28, man, that jumped off. I didn't love it.
It's 2 things. One, let this marinate a little bit where we are. Like, let's see it. Let's let it play out for a few years, especially now that the seating is fixed. And 2, this also felt semi-negotiating. Hey, you're going to stay here. You're going to stay here. Well, let's get the big number, and then we'll meet in the middle, and everybody's happy kind of thing.
Well, and a lot of times they throw this stuff out there and then see how it sticks and see how it's received and then obviously make changes. But the Big Ten and the SEC, they'll decide. And then they'll let the ACC and the Big 12 know. But all right. So let's get to the big fella, the big brain. I can't wait to just hear Bears season picks. He's got them all lined up, the over-unders, all the different things. Can't wait to talk to the big fella and that big brain. Mr. Repeat Customer, the only 2-time appearer on C-Ball, Get Ball. We got more bald, that is for dang sure. Like the baldness just grew. The Bear Fallica. Like where are we at in the season prep, man? Are we rocking and rolling? Are we just turning through the pages of magazines and just haven't left the room in 3 days?
Yeah, we're good. I will fully admit I am not as up on a lot of the group of 5 as I would like to be at this point, but we feel pretty good about where we are in terms of the Power 4, and I still haven't put together my playoff bracket yet, but I'm going to get there. I still got some.
I'm disappointed that you're not up to date on that. Bear, if you heard us talking, I think before you got in here, Cam Newton, jersey being retired, man. Like for me, I said that's the greatest football player that I've ever seen with my eyes watching a football game live for all of those years. Like he took the cake for me. You had more years than me with all in the sport, in the game, and you've seen many more players and many more great players. Where does he rank on your list?
That season in 2010 was probably the best season I've seen from someone. And Dominic Sue's season I guess it would have been 2008 when he nearly single-handedly carried Nebraska to the Big 12 championship game. Warren Sapp's 1995 season, 94 season was unbelievable. Barry Sanders' season when he set those were some of the ones. But what you and Brett were talking about, though, like they didn't have a single guy drafted on the offense. Defensively, I think Nick Fairley was the only player who was drafted off that defense. Like it was basically, here I am. If you can stop me, great, but you're not going to be able to stop me. Like it was one of the worst defenses ever to to win a national championship, and it was solely because of two.
You could argue, too, that Nick Fairley carried them on defense, too, because he just found a way to cause fumbles, get TFLs, get sacks. Like, he was incredible. He deserves a lot of credit for that run, too. He was the best player. He was the next best player on that roster, and it wasn't even close. Like, he was definitely good. All right, fire away, Bear. I want your hottest take for this season. I want the Bears, like, the biggest, like, this is going to happen. By God, like, whatever it is, the gambling terms, I don't know what they are, Bear, still. You taught me a lot over the years, but I still don't know how to use them. But, like, lock, stock, and barrel, click, click, boom. What is Bear?
This is going to happen. Okay.
We had no prep, by the way. I gave Bear no heads up on any of this stuff.
That's kind of an open canvas here for me.
Yeah.
South Carolina is going to go under their season win total of 7.5. That is going to happen.
Why?
Why? It is an absolutely brutal schedule. I worry a lot about the turnover that they've had. Not only a new group of wide receivers, but losing like guts guys on that defense, like Emanwari and Kennard. You remember, too, like they weren't thought to be very good last year, and then it just clicked in the second half of the year. Sellers is a fantastic player, but if you look at every single one of those road games that they have, A&M, Ole Miss, LSU, Missouri, every single one of those is losable. They got Oklahoma, Alabama, and Clemson at home. They got the Virginia Tech game in Atlanta, which they should win. But assuming they win those 4 bye games that they have, they're going to have to go 4-4 in those 8 games to beat me. And while I love Sellers and I love Shane, like I just don't know if that's going to happen. So yeah, I am under 7.5 on South Carolina in terms of a win total.
That's a really good one. And that's, by the way, especially since he didn't prep you and that was kind of an off the cuff guarantee right there. That was even better.
That big brain works. He ain't worried about it.
Yes, but let's talk about a little sort of Davey being in this all positive world. He's hashtag all in. He got a tattoo on his lower back, hashtag all in. But Bear, I think I heard a little bit is anti-Davey in terms of this Clemson love. So where are you? Be the contrarian for him.
Hey, before he starts, I'm gonna let you inside the curtain of College Game Day for all those years. Bear never liked Clemson.
Bullshit.
Ever. Never liked Clemson. Clemson hater.
Dude, I always.
I'm kidding, Bear. I'm kidding.
I picked them to beat Bama in that title game. Yeah, I picked them to beat LSU the year they lost by 1 million too. I loved Clemson the year they lost to Pitt. I made a big bet on him at plus 600 to win the title.
So why don't you love him now then, big fella?
Because I think the love is a little bit unjustified as to where we are. Like they weren't even thought of as being a playoff team last year until Miami blew a 21-point lead up at Syracuse last year. I know Klubnik and the wide receivers are back, but we're assuming that the freshman is gonna be great. But you look at what they did last year. You got blown out by an SEC team in the opener. Now it helps that the game is in Clemson this year against LSU. You lost at home to South Carolina. You got dominated by Louisville on your home field. You stole a game at Pitt that you had absolutely no business winning. Like they were that close to being kind of like 8-4 last year and not even in the ACC title game. I think, and by the way, this year, you got to go to Louisville. You got to go to South Carolina, even though I don't necessarily think South Carolina is a great team. I think BC is going to be better. You got SMU still on that schedule. Georgia Tech, there's always a pain in the you-know-what to play. Like, there are a lot of losable games there for Clemson. And SMU kind of handed them 14 points at ACC title game last year because of turnovers. And, like, that was the story of their season, their ability to kind of – create turnovers and score points off of them. Klubnik didn't turn the ball over. You and I did have a little talk about this, and you love the Tom Allen hire. You think that is a massive improvement of what they're going to be defensively. But I just think they're being built up a little bit based on kind of stumbling into an ACC title that they nearly weren't in. And then they played Texas a lot closer in the college football playoff than I think people thought. Look, could they absolutely be the team that rips through the ACC? Maybe they'll beat LSU by 2 touchdowns in the opener. Maybe they'll go to Louisville and win. Maybe they'll go to South Carolina and win. Maybe they'll go to Georgia Tech and win. Maybe they'll blow SMU out at home. But I'm buyer beware, I think with Clemson this year. I think they're really good, but I don't think they are like preseason number 1, preseason number 2 good, like a lot of people think they are.
Yeah, I understand why people say that and why you look back and project forward. I didn't see a player problem on defense as much as I thought they needed to do a better job with the scheme. That's why I think there's no better scheme fit in the country hire than Tom Allen with Dabo and company at Clemson. Like that is like Taylor. That's like a glove to a hand, perfect fit for each other. So I think that makes their stock go way up. All right, Bear, what about the SEC? Like who's the teams? Me and Brent, when we talked about it, we had 3 teams we felt pretty confident that we said were in that, very much in that picture. And that was Texas, that was Georgia, and that was Alabama. Those 3 teams we felt like were in a little bit of a tier up top, and then everybody else was kind of nipping at their heels behind.
Do you really put Alabama in that tier? I know a lot of people are really high on them this year, but it almost feels like we're still living in this era of, yeah, but it's Alabama. They'll be back. Yeah, but it's Alabama, but there's a big but there. And that but is sitting on the College Game Day set now. Like, they couldn't run the ball worth a lick last year.
Did you just call Nick Saban's butt big?
No. Not at all. It was a good catch, though, yeah. But no. If you look at Ryan Williams' performance in numbers after the Georgia game last year, now maybe it was a Jalen Miller problem, but like his numbers, like I don't think he had a game. I think he had one game with like more than like 70 receiving yards the rest of the season after that Georgia game, and maybe that's a Miller thing, and maybe Ty Simpson will be the guy. But I just think we're just kind of like automatically assuming, okay, it's Bama, they got talent. Kalen DeBoer has Ryan Grubb in there, kind of to fix the offense a little bit. They couldn't run it last year, and now who's going to replace Miller, who was their starting running back, and he wasn't great. So I don't know. I'm not ready to put Bama in that class with Georgia and Texas at the time. They're 3, but I think there's definitely a drop off from the top 2.
Bear would have loved the game we played last week, Davey, with the sort of me being the Larry Munson, because he's basically reciting all these negative things that I recited for all these teams. All right, so given that, then I'm assuming Bama might be your answer to this question. If you look at sort of those big 3 in the SEC and the Big Ten with Texas, Bama, Georgia, Ohio State, Penn State, Oregon, is Bama your choice of the, hey, if someone out of that group of 6 kind of core teams doesn't make the playoff, it would be them? Or is there one other?
I think it would be them, yes. Even though I will say this, while I just said I think Texas and Georgia are the 2 best teams in the SEC, would it necessarily surprise you if Georgia went 9-3 and maybe they were on the outside looking in? Like, I think all this talk about Ohio State replacing Will Howard and Julian Sayin and Arch Manning now with quarterback for Texas and headlines of the season, like the biggest headline and the biggest question to the season for me, can Gunnar Stockton actually play? Because you hear all this talk from a lot of people. Oh, Georgia's going to be better off with him than Carson Beck at quarterback, and we saw him in the playoff, and it's an unfair sample size. But do we know? We don't know that for sure. Like, are they going to be able to run the ball? It was last year an anomaly with the backs that they had, and Frazier putting the ball on the ground the entire time. The offensive line wasn't as good. Is that going to be improved? Like, you could see a path where Texas goes there and wins, and maybe my opinion on Bama is off, and maybe there's another game in the mix there that they slip up if indeed Stockton isn't the guy at quarterback that Kirby and everyone down there thinks he can be. So yeah, while I think the answer to the question would be Bama, Georgia wouldn't be a bad out for that, because while Oregon, I think talent-wise is not as good as those other teams, the schedule is just an absolute joke. Like, they go to Penn State early in the year, and even if they lose that game, there's an excellent chance that they're going to win out. They get USC at home. They got to go to Washington late in the year. That's always a tricky rivalry game and a tough place to play. Yep. But who knows if DeMond Williams is going to emerge like a lot of people think he's going to. So the answer would be Alabama, but I don't think there isn't a non-zero chance that Georgia could struggle a little bit more than people might think this year.
I just love that he said non-zero right there. But by the way, David, you did hear that because
like
I've said it a few times. Said that a few times recently. He made fun of me, but anyway, appreciate that.
He tried. Well, that's Brent. Hey, Chris. That's when Brent tried to sneak in Vanderbilt as a team that could make the playoffs. He's like, there's a non-zero chance. I was like, I said if my aunt had balls, she'd be my uncle. No, it's a 0% chance of that happening. It's not going to happen. Like, not in a million years.
Yeah. So, sorry, Brent. That's a zero chance. You know, I saw somewhere one book out there today had their win total at 4.5. Like that seemed pretty low. They're not going to fall off a cliff this year, are they?
They were 4-4 last year in one-score games, and that doesn't usually happen. They don't usually win those games. So I do think they come back to earth in that category because you know as well as I do, they're out-talented in every game.
Right.
I mean, they're not playing a single game where they have more talent. And Bear, down the stretch, like that offense got figured out the last 4 weeks of the season. That's the biggest thing with Vanderbilt to me because I think they're going to have to continue to evolve, but they kind of figured out how to get that stopped on that side of the football. And then defensively, nobody's turned Vanderbilt into a dominant defense. Nobody's ever saying that. Like they've been like bottom tier in the whole college football game for a while, like bottom 25% for like 10 years.
I got us off on a tangent. My bad.
Yeah, you did.
No, that's okay. We liked it. I'm gonna keep us off on a tangent. I loved your what has a better chance of happening thread last week. That was great. I enjoyed going through that.
So you and Davey actually disagreed, by the way, with the Texas one. So the what's more likely, A, Arch wins the Heisman, or B, they have 2 losses going to Georgia. You were very much thinking 2 losses. Davey thinks Arch win the Heisman more likely. So debate.
I just think there's a clear question. I think there are more holes on that Texas offense than people might be willing to realize. Like the offensive
on the offensive line.
Offensive line was fantastic last year, and now you got to replace a bunch of guys. Receivers, you lose a lot of game breakers on the outside there. They couldn't run the ball worth a lick against Ohio State and even Arizona State in the playoff, and even against Clemson down there. Like I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I'm wrong, and I'm not one of these people like buying into the whole. Well, Quinn Ewers was a 7th round pick, and if Arch couldn't beat him out, then why should that doesn't make any sense to me at all. But while I think the Texas defense could be the best individual unit in the country, and I can't wait to get to Columbus next week for that game. By the way, I might have had something to do with having that total move from like 51 down to 48.5 with some people. But I think that's going to be a good like Pollack Georgia era, like a good Florida Georgia game, 14-9 in the third quarter, late third quarter, fourth quarter, good low scoring game. Defense is dominating.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because I understand that Quinn Ewers comment. I really do. I understand why people say he couldn't beat him out, and I get that component of it. But we act like Sark's not great at what he does, and we act like Sark does. I give Sark – there are certain coaches that I'm absolutely going to give the benefit of the doubt, and he is absolutely one of those. Mm-hmm. Like, he knows how to move the football. He knows how to be creative. And here's the thing. He'll use Arch's legs, too, if he needs to. And we saw that was a force. So I think the run game is going to get better. I have this much concern. Like, literally, I'll give you double zeros of weapons, homie. Like, the weapons at Texas will be just fine. Like, Demo, Wingo, Andreas, who comes from Cal, like, it'll be business as usual, big play guys. And Texas, I don't see a lot of holes. And I'm not sitting here proclaiming Arch is going to win a Heisman, but I think that dude in that offense with those guys around him and with Sark calling plays, it's hard not to be a great player. He's that good to me.
So Bear, do you think that that's a sort of justified that they're an underdog, even though they are sort of right now kind of consensus number one going to Ohio State in week 1?
I think that line is basically the home. It's a home field number. You basically what that number is saying is these two teams are even. Ohio State's at home. They're going to get the slight edge. But everything that we just said about Texas, I have like the same type of concerns on the other side. Like you mentioned, how the offense could be different with Texas, with Arch being more of a running quarterback. Like Ohio State's going to go through the same thing with Julian's saying, like completely different offense, completely different quarterback than what we saw last year with Will
No Chip Kelly either.
I mean, you got a first exactly.
And we know how good that sucker is. We've had many conversations with him and what he can do.
First time play caller with Heartline. I say he can spin it, but can they protect him? And if they can't, he's not going to be able to have the wheels like Howard did. And we saw so many of the big plays in the playoff last year were based on Howard's legs. So yeah, this is going to be a close, low scoring game. And hopefully for Ohio State, their offensive line will prove to live up to what they hope it can be, because that was obviously a big question last year after Simmons got hurt, and then finally that they figured it out. And I think Howard's legs were a big part of that. So
big part. And we didn't even mention Patricia on the other side too, who's I think we've got question marks about as well. So interested to see that. But what about some other teams? Maybe the Big 12. The Big 12 is an interesting pick this year because I think a lot of people feel like there's 4, 5, 6, 7 teams that could be in the mix. And then there's some people that think Arizona State, what they saw a year ago, like they're believing, they're buying, and they think Arizona State's clearly the favorite. Where do you land on that?
I would make Utah the favorite.
I love it.
Just because I think Dampier coming in there is going to, and I don't think they'd ever admit it publicly, but privately, I think they're kind of happy to be done with the Cam Rising drama. Is he going to play? Is he not going to play every week? And nothing against the kid. It was just, you just didn't know. I think Kyle kind of wanted to step down. I think he wanted last year to be his last year. And I thought he had the type, I think he thought going into the year that he thought he had the type of team that was going to win the league and get to the playoff. And he could go out on that note, but everything went wrong and he decided to come back. But you bring in Dampier who can run behind a really physical, good offensive line. I think they're going to be much better in the trenches than they've been in previous years. So I would make Utah the favorite to win that league. The team that I'm really interested in there is Houston. I think Willie Fritz in the second year there, I think he kind of turned the roster over and ran a lot of the malcontents off. Their offense was terrible last year. And you bring in Connor Wigman at quarterback. You got a bunch of other transfers in there to kind of help an offense that struggled. I think they're going to be better. Like we saw last year, BYU was picked 13th in the league and it started 9-0. Arizona State was picked last in the league and they won the league. So if you're looking for like a sleeper to kind of maybe like take a stab at I have them over 6.5 wins at plus money. I think they're like 20-something to 1 to win the league. I think Houston could kind of be a little bit of that team from off the map that maybe makes a run in the Big 12. If you look at their schedule, there's a really good chance that they're 4-0 when they host Texas Tech. I think it's late September or the first week of October. But just give Houston a little second look at some point early in the year, maybe especially before the odds makers maybe adjust how good I think they potentially could be. But yeah, you're right. Last year we thought it was you could put 7 or 8 teams in a hat and you could pick any one of them or any 2 of them, and that would be your Big 12 championship game. 2 teams that weren't even in the hat wound up making the damn game. So Iowa State was, but the team that wasn't even in the hat wound up winning the damn league.
Brent, I'm going to let you ask the next question, but if I'd have put a lot of money on that, if we were talking about Houston tonight and them being a team, I'm not surprised because this is what Bear does, and you've seen on his board for years like the most obscure picks. I did not have Houston. I did not have Houston up there at all. I did not think about them with all. There's like 70,000 new coaches, new players, but I'd sure have at it. Let's go Houston in the over.
Well, that's actually, it leads to a great question from a process standpoint now with the transfer portal and how teams are literally just turning completely over. How are you looking at that in terms of what you do and projections and things like that? Because you're basing it on something that you completely haven't seen any of them together. Like Houston is a completely new team.
It's a complete dart throw, to be quite honest with you. But I think for me, I like to start my prep a little bit later because of that second portal period, and I like to see what teams are bringing in. I don't want to build an opinion on a team in January or February, and then everything completely changes after that second period. So I like getting a little bit of a later start. I like to form an opinion more on teams that I probably don't like and look for leagues or conferences or awards that might be up for grabs. I might see some kind of like some flaws in the favorites and maybe go down a little bit deeper in that. And that's the situation I see with the Heisman this year. And I know I'm probably going to get some eye rolls here, but Carson, I bet Carson Beck at 37-1 to win the Heisman. And he was favored to win the Heisman entering last year. And everything that what I hear is he has been fantastic down in Miami. I know people are a little bit worried about their receiver room, but they love
receiver room. That's not what I'm worried about in Miami. I got other things I can tell you I'm worried about in Miami.
The defense, what they did defensively in the portal, especially in the secondary.
They can't get worse.
No, they are going to be infinitely better. I think bringing in Heather from Minnesota is a massive coup. The three backs that they have, Lyle,
big physical offensive line.
The offensive line is going to be one of the best 3 to 5 in the country, and I think there's a little bit of a chip on Beck's shoulder because I think people are forgetting how good this guy was in 2023. Baller. He was great. Now I know he had Bowers and I know he had McConkey and he had that great Georgia offensive line and skill all over, but he still had to make the decisions and make the plays. And then last year, we just talked about it before. The offensive line was bad. You had wide receivers kicked off the team. You had running back. Everyone hurt all over the place. He ultimately got hurt. If you look at Arian Smith and Dylan Bell, like where they ranked in the SEC in drops was insane. Like I think people are really, really looking too closely at last year and not enough at what he did prior to that. So,
well, that's something we agree on, homeboy. That's something we are in the same camp because I just think, again, like Brent's Mr. Numbers guy, and you're a numbers guy too. Like, and just like when you watch Carson Beck play, when Beck plays in rhythm and he's protected and he plays on time, the dude anticipates at a high level. He's accurate at a high level. Like he understands what to do. He didn't have that a year ago, man. Not only did he not have the protection, he didn't have the run game either, and he still won Georgia a lot of games. They still won the SEC because of him. I know Gunnar Stockton came in and balled and did his thing late, but like without Beck, that would not have happened. So no. I'm big on Miami as well, homie.
And that's in what I was prefacing it with how I got here was like if you look at the odds for like the Heisman Trophy, and you see Klubnik and Arch Manning and Nussmeier like +6.5, 7-1. Like, why are you going to bet those guys at that price when Klubnik and Nussmeier, one of them is going to lose right out of the gate. Arch could lose potentially right out of the gate, and you're going to get a better price on one of those once those teams and players lose. So it's ridiculous to bet a guy like that to win the Heisman when you can go down like Lenora Sellers is like 20-1 or 18-1 to win the Heisman, but I don't think South Carolina is going to have a good season. He sure as hell ain't going to win it. So like you can kind of go down and kind of like, and this is what I did last year. Like a lot of the like Ewers and a lot of the other quarterbacks, like there were holes there to shoot, whether it's in their play or their team or whatever. And ultimately, that's how I landed on Travis Hunter at 65-1. And maybe lightning will strike twice. Who the hell knows? And I think the other guy that I have
you bet that one last year 65-1.
He mentioned that on our show last year.
Yes.
Oh man,
that's why I'm back.
Winners. Hashtag
I think Jeremiah Love is someone who's worth a play too at 45-1.
Okay. There you go. That was leading me right where I wanted to go anyways. Like, and we got it in the chat as well for Brad. He said, Miami beating Notre Dame, though. What do you think about Notre Dame? Because, Bear, you might have been one of those ones that were texting me late in the season last year. What has Notre Dame ever won? How are you buying this team? Because I got plenty of that from people in this business that I've worked with in the past, and they did okay, man. And Marcus Freeman's changed that outfit, but obviously, some things to replace. But what do you think about that team, Notre Dame, and then that game?
I think they're absolutely a playoff team. I think that game is going to be another real close, low-scoring type game because I think the best unit on the field is going to be the Notre Dame defense. And while I love Beck and I think Miami's got some weapons, it's going to be hard against that secondary. Now, can they get a pass rush? We'll see. Maybe Miami will just kind of run the ball on them. The thing I worry about Notre Dame is the quarterback situation. Mm-hmm. Like, is this really a battle? Do they want Carr to win? Do they want Minchie to start game one against Miami? Is there something maybe going on behind the scenes that we don't know about that might dictate a decision? It's like, that's what worries me. Like, is there an NIL deal? Like, are they worried about whoever doesn't win the job running off because they don't have anybody after those two guys? Like, they are in deep, what, if the Carr or Minchie, whoever's not there, leaves. So we'll see. Push comes to shove, I think Miami does win the game because I think ultimately they have more answers on offense right now than Notre Dame was. But I do think Notre Dame feels pretty good about what they have at receiver this year compared to what they did last year.
I can't believe you didn't mention your alma mater's home crowd too. Like Notre Dame having to go to that ruthless Miami atmosphere.
Dude, it's a sellout, first of all. Remember? Dude, and oh, by the way, I think you remember the last time you were there, right? Drew, you remember that when you got up on that diving board in the middle of campus?
I remember that.
You dove on campus before the game. What happened that night? That stadium and crowd that you're giving the shits.
That was pretty solid. Yeah, the best thing I remember about the crowd in all the years was that cat that somehow survived by hanging down the rafters. But hey, you were there a long time. That has never been the best home field advantage in sports by any stretch.
And that's why the Orange Bowl may have been a
really
what, a PO but it was ours.
And Wes just put the picture up of me about to do the high dive. Yeah, thank you very much, Wes. Hey, that by the way got me in a lot of trouble. My wife was like, "Hey, so if I was on TV in a bathing suit, would you be okay with it?" I'm like, "You'd never be on TV in a bathing suit. What are you talking about?" She was like, "It's not a real life thing, but would you like it if I did that?" And I'm like, "You're not going to be on TV in a bathing suit." Like, no, I don't care. She was not happy that I did that, but I can tell you this: being on that high dive, Bear, every part of me wanted to come back down those steps, and if that camera was not focused,
I believe it.
I would have gone right back down.
I believe it. Push to answer the question though. Push comes to shove. Yes, I do think Miami wins the game.
All right. Well, that's a big one. What other things are you? Do we touch everything that you're hot on? I mean, we didn't really talk about the Big Ten and Michigan and
Minnesota. I love Minnesota over 7.5 wins. You see, here I come in here with South Carolina, Houston, and Minnesota. How about
amazing. That's amazing. Why Minnesota? Why are you buying Minnesota?
I think at some point, don't you just kind of have to trust PJ Fleck?
He's a good coach, man.
The type of player he brings in, the culture that he brings in, like he just wins every single year. And like I said, I know they lose the defensive coordinator to Miami, but you look at some of the ways they lost games last year. Penn State having to do the fourth down punt, or else Minnesota might win that game. The North Carolina game earlier in the year, the Michigan game where they had the onside kick called back on a shaky penalty. I know you got a new quarterback in Lindsey, and it's probably going to be more of a throw to set up the run. Coy Parrish is going to be a two-way guy who I think you're going to get to see quite a bit this year, and he's going to get some run. Not as necessarily a Heisman guy, but he's kind of a Travis Hunter kind of junior type guy. This is not a team that is going to go to Oregon and win or go to Ohio State and win. But you look at the remainder of their schedule, there isn't a team on there that you're going to go into the game and say, they can't win that game. They can't win that game. So if they lose to Ohio State and lose to Oregon, I think they can win 8 of the other 10 games to get to 8 wins.
And that's what you get with the Bear. Like you get all of it, which is fantastic. But I think we'll probably have you on a third time, Bear. Just it's probably going to be necessary. But I'm with you. I had Miami in the playoff. I have A&M making the playoff. So that's probably a stretch out there. You got A&M having a good season.
I don't have any. I don't know how it's ultimately going to go, like what particular teams, but I think you're going to get Clemson and Miami from the ACC.
Yep.
You're going to get the Big 12 champ. You're going to get Notre Dame. You're going to get the group of 5. That's going to be 5. And then you're going to get 7 between the Big 10 and SEC, just like you did last year. And that'll depend on you'll probably get Penn State, Ohio State, Oregon, Big 10, and we'll see from the SEC who goes, and then there'll be one. Like I don't think that was a bet that I made as well. last week was the Big 12 under 1.5 playoff teams, just because that's what happened last year, and the way the math shakes out, I think that's how it's going to shake out last year. And it's not a knock on the Big 12 as a conference. I think it's a deep league with a lot of good teams, but the fact that 1 and like 9 and 8 are basically the difference between those teams isn't great. It means you're going to get a whole lot of 9 and 3, 8 and 4 type teams, and that's not going to shape up to an at-large type resume.
Yeah. Well, having you on, Bear, reminds us that the season is upon us, and it'll be glorious. And daggone, man, you got a good one out the gates. Being at Ohio State after winning a championship, so the fans will be a little bit more excited than they were in that Tennessee game to start the playoffs. They'll be jacked up. They'll be excited. So appreciate you joining us, big fella. And then I guess everybody else will love that. Yeah, man, we're good. Like you got. Hey, if you got more, go ahead. If you got some more notes you wanted to uncover, but we're trying to do a better job. So we've been told by analytics. Our producer, Wes, and analytics.
Keep it to like 50 minutes or so?
Yes. We're not supposed to go over 50. Now, when I'm in a podcast, and I think you're the same way, Bear, when I'm in it, I'm like, I don't care. I'll take it. Like, if you're going to give me good stuff, I'm in. But the analytics are, you're an analytical guy anyways, Bear. So
here's one good thing. What's the best your best Corso story? I know you guys worked together all those years, and you're going to be there for that sort of last game.
Well, he gave me the nickname, and it dates back to like 2003 when Kirk and I were having lunch in a hotel restaurant, and we're sitting down, and anyone who knows Kirk and I and have seen us out knows that like any dead space on the table when we're eating is like wasted space. So Lee comes in after his like morning walk, and he comes in his uniform, and his uniform at that time was black leather bomber jacket, blue jeans, and white tennis shoes. And he's not like bashful at all about like he doesn't want to like sneak in and like not be seen. He like wants to make his presence known. So he just, yo, Chris Fallica, Kirk Herbstreit, how you guys doing? So now everyone knows not only is Lee there, we're there, and we got t-shirt and shorts and for brunch and barely just out of bed. So Lee comes over and he looks at the table, he looks at Kirk, he looks at the table again, and then he looks at me, and he goes, "Look at you, Fallica. You're just like a bear. You eat, you sleep, you shit, you take another nap, you eat again. You're just a bear." So that's how the bear nickname came.
I never knew that. I never knew that at all those years, man. I never knew that. That is absolutely.
I'm sorry for saying all these naughty 4-letter words, David.
That's okay. It's all good. That's great, man. We'll see you,
story.
Bear. Big noon kickoff, like always, doing your thing, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, looking forward. I got plenty more, of course, with stories as well. I actually feel pretty good and pretty honored. I actually sat down. Went over to ESPN a couple of weeks back for the first time since I left, and sat down for like 2.5 hours telling the producers all sorts of good old Corso stories. Stuff, which was great. So
awesome.
We'll see how many of them make it. UTSA to win the American plus 500 as well. That's another
hey,
that's your more team, by the way. Big physical group of 5 offensive line that might look more like a Power 4 team. They're not going to go to A&M week 1 and win. They're a big underdog, but they might be favored in every single one of the remainder games. 11-1. I think there's a chance that there might be in the mix for playoff.
And there's Bear's parting shot. He gave you some goodness on the way out. Now he's going to go eat, sleep, and like Corso says, appreciate you, big fella.
The eating's been done. Miss Molly made a little peach cobbler that was destroyed before the hopped on here. So now we're just going to go straight to the sleep.
You the man, dog. See you, brother.
Take care, guys. Great talking to you.